And we are back. Welcome back to the Premier League prediction series once again. There is no rest for the wicked as we jump straight from game week 30 to game week 31 with all 10 fixtures taking place across Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. After a weekend that started off with one of, if not the best game of the season so far, we rounded it off with what was probably the worst game of the season so far between Man City and Arsenal last night. But to be fair to Arsenal, they got the job done. They were able to avoid defeat at City. But in the process, have they handed the title to Liverpool? Let me know down in the comment section below. But the fun thing about this week is the race for the title collides with the battle for survival. And you just don't know at this stage of the season how much these teams down at the bottom are willing to fight to survive, and you always find at some point around this time of the year there's a massive result for the lower side taking on the teams at the top. But before we get into it, if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video if you do enjoy my prediction series, and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. We've got a whole more host of content coming up for you in the coming weeks, starting off right now. And we kick off with the first game taking place tomorrow, and that is between Newcastle United and Everton. And for Newcastle, I mean, could they have any more players missing if they tried? Just the weekend game alone, they lost Lascelles, they lost Kraft, they lost Almiron, and then Anthony Gordon got sent off, meaning he'll be suspended for the game against his former club. So 4 more players missing for Newcastle for this one. They're just about going to manage to scrounge together a team. They've only got one recognised centre-back until Christmas, so they're going to have to do some work in the summer to replace Lascelles and Botman. So honestly, anything could happen in this game. The only thing is, Everton are just so bad at the moment. I just still don't see them getting a result in this game. And even with all the injuries that Newcastle picked up over the course of that game, they still scored 4 goals. And with Harvey Barnes coming into the side, I'm sure to start this time, I think he's going to end up being a threat. I'm going to go for 3-1 to Newcastle. But like I say, if Everton are ever going to get points at St James's Park in the current climate, this is the time to do it, because Newcastle are so stretched thin right now, they might just pull it off. Next up on tomorrow's games, we have Nottingham Forest taking on Fulham. 2 sides that ended the game with draws at the weekend. Forest did okay. Fulham were very, very fortunate, I think, to get a draw away at Sheffield United. I think Sheffield United were robbed of a 4th goal due to some very suspect VAR offsiding. But they were able to get the 3-3 draw thanks to Muniz's overhead kick. I still think Fulham are just a better side than Forest. I've really not been impressed with Forest recently. I think Nuno coming in just hasn't really worked for Nottingham Forest outside of the game against Man United. But I'm still going to go for Fulham. I'm going to go for the same scoreline I went for Forest at the weekend, and that is a 1-2 loss. So for me, it's going to be Fulham that take it. That then brings us on to Nottingham Forest's opponents at the weekend. That was Crystal Palace, who again, under Glasner, have been performing very, very well. They've got Eberiche Eze back. They've got Mateta scoring goals again. Still waiting for Elise to return, but overall their performances are improving. Bournemouth, on the other hand, were okay at the weekend, but still not great. A 2-1 defeat, thanks to a very, very scrappy own goal from Seamus Coleman. And I don't know, I just don't think Bournemouth are going to go all the way to get the win in this one. I think, like I say, Palace are playing well at the moment, not quite getting the results that their performances deserve. So that's where I'm going to go for this one as well. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw for Bournemouth and Palace, which then brings us on to Burnley and Wolves. Now, Burnley, very interestingly, have actually not lost in any of their last 3 games. 2 draws and a victory, and that has coincided with Vincent Kompany changing the goalkeeper from James Trafford to Muric. Now, Muric was the Championship goalkeeper of the season last year. I know there was a lot of Burnley fans who questioned the signing of Trafford in the first place when Muric was so good last season. They brought Trafford in. So justification to those Burnley fans at the moment, because he's been playing fantastically in goal, and Burnley have been getting the results off the back of his performances in net and some better performances outfield as well. Most notably, of course, getting the 2-2 draw away at Chelsea with 10 men at the weekend. They come up against a Wolves side, which again, aren't playing that great at the moment. Yes, they did miss some chances against Villa, but they didn't really look too threatening outside of the real big 8 Nuri chance. And I think the injuries are starting to catch up with them. Obviously, I really rate Gary O'Neill as a manager, but I just think they're struggling a little bit at the moment, and I think Burnley are in a real good position to capitalise. And like I said at the start, this is the time of the season where these relegation-threatened sides really start to step it up a gear. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Burnley. The final game tomorrow night sees West Ham United taking on Tottenham. West Ham, of course, off the back of throwing that 3-1 lead to Newcastle, albeit an incredible comeback from Newcastle. Controversial penalty decision between Gordon and Calvin Phillips, of course. But for me, I think the officials got it right. They take on a Spurs side, which, very bizarre game against Luton, with the clearances off the line and the goal line technology and hitting the post both, and then winning it via an own goal and a deflection. So it's a little bit, I don't really know what's going on with Spurs at the moment. They're doing all right. They're just about getting the results they need to keep themselves in those Champions League places. But there's going to be pressure on them, but it's in their hands at first. They get to play first this week, with Villa playing on Wednesday and United playing on Thursday. It's in Tottenham's hands to put the pressure on those sides by getting the win at West Ham. However, I don't see that happening. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I think with Spurs' high line and the ability of Paqueta to find the likes of Kudus, Bowen and Antonio in behind, I can definitely see West Ham getting some joy there. But I also think with their attacking prowess, Spurs are going to get some goals as well. So all three results possible, I think, for that one. But I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. That then brings us on to Wednesday, where we start off with Arsenal taking on Luton Town. And obviously, I just spoke about Luton. The one thing I would say is that Luton always score. In spite of all of these bad results Luton have had over the last few months, Luton always score. So I'm going to give them a goal. But against the bottom half sides since Christmas, Arsenal have absolutely steamrolled a lot of them. So unfortunately, to any of my Luton fans watching, and Dave sitting beside me here, I know you can't see him anymore, but I'm going to go for a 4-1 win to Arsenal. I just think with all the defensive injuries for Luton, they're missing 9 regular first-team players, Luton Town. It's basically just Carlton Morris, Doherty and Barkley who are available in the outfield, and they've got 9 other players who would at least be in the first-team squad missing for this game. So I'm going to go for 4-1 to Arsenal. That then brings us to Brentford and Brighton, and the question you've got to ask yourself is, can Brentford put the ball back in the net when it matters after all the chances they missed against Manchester United? Because if they get that many chances again, surely they won't miss that many again, right? Brighton, on the other hand, played well, I think, against Liverpool. They got a bit picked off in midfield by Alexis McAllister, but overall, they kept themselves in the game. Yes, Salah did have 12 shots or something, but I still think that Brighton played pretty well at Anfield yesterday, so I'm going to make it a slightly even game. But ultimately, I'm going to go for a 3-2 win for Brentford. I think it's just going to be open. I think it's, well, it sounds wrong when I say it. I say it's going to be tight, but also it's going to be open. What I mean is it's going to be an open game with a tight scoreline come the full 90 minutes. But I'm going to edge it in Brentford's favour. I'm going to go for 3-2. That then brings us to Manchester City and Aston Villa. City, of course, looking to bounce back from their disappointing display last night against Arsenal. Again, I don't really know what was wrong with City. Yes, Arsenal played the low block very, very well, but City weren't really moving around as much as they normally do, and Haaland just was a non-factor. And fair play to Saliba and Gabriel for that, but in a game like that, you'd expect someone like Erling Haaland to then start dropping in a bit more, to get on the ball a bit more, and it just didn't do that. So I think City definitely need an upward trajectory in terms of their performance, especially against a side like Aston Villa that do play some very good football, and a side that completely dominated Manchester City in this reverse fixture earlier on in the season. So again, I think it's going to be a tough game for them, but I'm going to go in favour of Manchester City. I'm going to go for 2-1 to them. That then brings us to Thursday, starting off with Liverpool taking on Sheffield United. And if I feel sorry for any person in the Premier League right now, it has got to be Sheffield United's goalkeeper, Gerbic, because he was playing relatively regularly at the start of this season for Atletico Madrid because Oblak was injured. Since Oblak came back, he's decided to switch clubs and he's chosen Sheffield United. And the poor guy has just been on the end of some absolute spankings. And unfortunately, I can see this being another one. You know how many chances Liverpool are going to create. They're such an attacking force, and unfortunately, Sheffield United are just shipping goals for fun. I'm going to go 5-0 to Liverpool. I don't see Sheffield United scoring. Yes, Liverpool do give away some chances, and to be fair, Sheffield United have been scoring a few goals recently, but I just think the way Liverpool will play, I just think it's going to be an absolute battering, and I'm going to go 5-0 to Liverpool, which brings us to the final game of the week, which is Chelsea and Manchester United. Now, the question really is, as a Manchester United fan, what Manchester United side is going to turn up? Because I could do two separate predictions for this game. I could do the prediction where we turn up and we play the way we did against Liverpool. Or I can do the prediction where we don't turn up and we play like we did against Brentford. Or potentially I could even do a third prediction, which is how if we play somewhere in the middle. You just don't know with this Manchester United side. And what makes this prediction even worse is you could make almost the exact same argument for Chelsea. You could have the Chelsea side that turned up and played against Manchester City, or you could have the Chelsea side that played like they did in the FA Cup against Leicester until the last couple of minutes, or you can have the Chelsea side that turned up against Burnley, who just let 10 men beat them. And again, fair play to Burnley, I mentioned that earlier. This game is near impossible to predict because you just don't know who's going to turn up on the day. The only people I would expect to play well in this match are Cole Palmer for Chelsea and Diogo Dalot for Manchester United. Those are probably the only two players I would expect, and Kobbie Mainoo for Manchester United as well. Those are probably the only three players that you can probably say guaranteed will have a good performance in this match. So, answers on a postcard. I'm going 2-2. I really don't know. I think that's still a fair enough prediction. I think both sides will score goals. I think both sides defensively give away far too many chances. It's just going to come down to who takes the most chances. I can't make that decision right now, so I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. And that'll be it for Game Week 31's predictions. As always, let me know all of your thoughts down in the comment sections below. Whether you agree, disagree, let me know. And of course, let me know your predictions down in those comment sections as well. Thank you very much for watching. As always, I'll be back again with my reaction to Chelsea, Manchester United, where hopefully it won't be another rant, but it very well could be. Because if it is, oh God, we got Liverpool at the weekend. I'll see you there.